Hi everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global podcast, coming to you from ITSM 15 in London. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with my co-host Simone Moore.
Hi everyone.
And we're talking with Andy White from Cherwell about the Opinion Matters UK CIO survey.
Yeah, we held a survey recently that went out to, actually Opinion Matters was the organisation that did the work for us. They went out to, not a big sample, it was about 50 UK CIOs, turning over about 500,000 and above.
Right.
So we were interested in, as I mentioned earlier in our conversations earlier, the world we're living in is radically changing, becoming far more digitally connected with its ultimate end user. We're seeing that expand dramatically. Don't need to tell anybody about that.
No.
We've all got mobile phone apps and websites and so on you can purchase.
Yeah.
But when you actually think about what digitization is all about, it's all about how can I provide a service to the customer, how can I provide information to a customer, or how can I request or buy something. We probably all use Amazon. And it occurred to us that that while that is accelerating dramatically, are we putting the same amount of emphasis on our internal systems to correlate the two? So the topic of the survey was, is external digitization in tune with internal digitization?
Okay.
And to cut to the chase, the answer was absolutely not, because external digitization is growing at, today we have about 3 billion IP connections around the world running X number of applications. Right. And by 2020, the analysts are forecasting 100 billion IP connections.
That's huge.
Now, I don't know about the people that listen and watch these podcasts, but if their IT organisation is also growing 30x in budget and number of staff, you haven't got a problem.
No, but I don't know that there's many out there like that somehow.
Yeah, so the survey kind of drilled into what are the challenges with this radical expansion of customer engagement in the external digitization world, and what are we doing internally? And some really remarkable facts came out from the surveys. And one of the big challenges was actually connecting what's going on in the external digitization with the work that we do internally in our service management world.
And it is a real problem, especially when the generation of people who are coming into the workforce now, they expect things to work the same way they work for them at home. They expect that if I want to do something, I'm just going to find an app that does it, I'm going to install it, and it's going to work, and I'm never going to have to think about it again because it's just going to do what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Internally in IT, that's still not happening, is it?
It's not, and I think one of the challenges is we're still relatively hard-coded, that if we do make a change to the external world, how I call it the just word. The commercial teams say, right, we're going to change this on the website, or we're going to launch this application or service. Can you just make it work internally?
Can you just?
And it's a great word, that one, isn't it?
They have no idea of what is really behind that just word, and we as practitioners in our service management domain really understand the connotations and the intricacies of how many different subsystems we need to connect to, and our directory management and our security and compliance and all of these things. So there was some very marked impacts. One of the things that came out was a lot of businesses are running their business via email, and that's a very analog way of doing things. And a lot of, even when you look at just very simple things, it may be disconnected from the external service the company provides. But just doing simple things like onboarding new hires, that actually is a very complex process, because you're initiating Active Directory, LDAP, your email services. I need a new desk, a PC, a phone, and so on and so on.
But yet, IT only forms one part of the
Correct.
onboarding process.
Yeah.
So, because you've also got the legal and financial and
HR
exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's not really a known term today, but the internal digitization, how can we remove these analog processes and use the domain skill set that we have within our IT service management backgrounds and extend those to other areas, to your point, that we now need to create a mechanism and a platform that enables our customers to really dramatically automate their business.
Well, what has the survey shown in terms of that band from being analog to digital? What's the span?
Well, some of the interesting statistics were a lot of CIOs recognised they had a digital strategy. When they were questioned further on what they are actually doing about it and how they go about implementing it, particularly with improving internal things, connecting the external work with the internal work, actually the percentages really dropped off. Really interesting was the number of organisations that said we are now implementing, nearly 60% of the survey said we're implementing over 10 new processes to deal with business automation improvement.
Okay.
And it comes back to this idea of bimodal IT thinking, that we've got to keep the lights on, but we've got to start innovating. So probably the 5% we're currently spending on innovating, we've got to expand that to 20, 30, 40%. Well, that means we've got to be slicker. And one of the things that came out of the survey was a frustration that there isn't kind of one platform that enables that. We've got to go to multiple platforms to enable that. And I think today we're seeing a real acceleration in people wanting one agile, codeless platform that allows them to react to the needs of the business.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? What's Cherwell doing with the results of the survey? How are you going to leverage what you've learned from that?
I think part of it is actually awareness, first of all, that a lot of the skills that we've had in our core IT and ITSM practice is highly relevant to the rest of the business.
Yes.
So a lot of this change control, compliance, security, risk, the ability to build presentation layers to our customers, which probably the majority of our audiences over the last 5-10 years have really focused on the IT audience, whereas now we can go beyond IT and look at our HR departments that you mentioned, facilities, marketing, anywhere where there's a complex process and we need to be able to build a form rather than relying on email, Excel, yellow post-it notes to pass around the organisation and print off, sign, scan and forward on. Let's automate our business processes. And actually that's a great opportunity for the IT teams to go back into the organisation and say, well, look what we did within IT, within our service portfolio that we extended into a service catalogue around IT needs. Let's extend that service portfolio to HR onboarding, to room bookings, facilities management, and actually create a digital platform to optimise the organisation.
So where are you finding that drivers coming from? So, I mean, obviously Cherwell's used outside of IT, but is the drive to use it coming from outside IT, or is it IT departments pushing it out, saying, look, we've got this great tool that we use, I think you should use it? Or are you getting HR departments coming to you and saying, we'd like to use
Very good question. I would answer it with both.
Yep.
The organisations that are IT taking it into the business, I find are actually very good marketeers. They know how to package their DNA, their intellectual property, and deliver it into various departments around the business unit. And we've seen that be tremendously successful. And the value to IT is they then have one platform rather than spinning multiple platforms and having to connect it together. They can connect it together. I mean, we're in a digital world, it's all noughts and ones. The issue is, I actually call it alignment versus realignment. So process alignment, actually that's easy. Anybody can do it. It's just that some people do it with one engineer for 3 hours and some people do it with 18 engineers and 32 months. So anybody can do alignment. The key is realignment, that if I change my mind or if I've got a new business process, I want to be able to just deal with that very, very quickly. And if you're dealing with multiple platforms and you've got this spaghetti of process connecting your HR, facilities, IT management, Active Directory all together, that is very painful. So I think what we're seeing happening, and I don't think we're unique in this, I think you're seeing other vendors following this path. IT can actually take the lead and go into the departments, but we do see the flip side where HR departments are saying, look, we need something that's pragmatic, we need something that's intuitive, and we want it to be integrated with our service platform. So I think we've gone beyond IT service. That's still a core discipline, but we're now talking about business service and enterprise services.
Well, it's interesting because you still have the technical integration issues, I guess, with, there are very specific platforms or applications used by, whether it's finance or HR, for legal reasons as well. So how are you going about or looking, or what have you come out of the survey about marrying those, because they can't not use those other systems? So
yeah, I completely agree. Like ERP is a classic example. For fiduciary reasons, you wouldn't want to enter into that. But I think the real interlock is really the ultimate goal is to show business value. So we need to start bringing in these financial data feeds, so that we're not just reporting, hey guys, we transacted 8,000 tickets this month.
it
doesn't
mean anything unless it's got a
monetary value or a business value. So actually integrating that these things are important to bring together the entire end-to-end service experience, and the value of that service does require integrations into some platforms.
And maybe helping HR manage their training platforms as well, for the ongoing as well as onboarding.
Yep, absolutely. Anywhere where there's a complex process of booking something or requesting something, all of the domain skills we know an awful lot about, extending that beyond the organisation. But the key research is showing some challenges in connecting the external initiatives to the ultimate end customer, the consumer, into our organisation. Some challenges with how we actually manage change and a desire for a common platform, even though we may be touching other data sources in the background. And interestingly, a lot of focus on extending more processes in the business to help optimise the efficiency of the business.
Now, another question for you. This is a UK survey, and knowing that you've actually been traipsing around the world recently as well, so are there any plans to look at the same style of survey in the rest of Europe and the States, maybe Oceania? And then what kind of correlation? Are we seeing a global trend, or is this more for just one area?
We are extending. There's actually a separate survey just being completed. This one is completed. Another survey we're doing in conjunction with IDG and CIO magazine that goes into wider European and actually some other areas as well. It's principally Europe. A lot of research in Germany, Nordics, UK, Benelux and France. Actually some very similar results coming out. The results are the early results that I've seen are showing that organisations realise this is a tremendous opportunity for them to improve their efficiency, to allow them to become more bimodal rather than singular. Just keeping the lights on. Comments I've seen again. We're running our business via email. It's not agile. We're frustrated with coded environments. We want to move to a codeless environment, so that we are in control of the services or the platform agility. We're not beholden to a vendor to come in and do the configuration and customization.
So you think looking forward there's not going to be, it's not so much a by country or a cultural challenge, this is something that business is just experiencing worldwide? That's what's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the growth of the Internet of Everything, the connection to the consumer, that's happening pretty much everywhere. And the business has to respond to that because they're in a competitive situation. They've got to be bigger, better, faster, quicker than their competitors. And what's required is, and it's a great opportunity for the IT teams to extend their impact on the business rather than just focusing on IT, which really the issue is IT is the business, and
exactly.
they're in a great place to help the organisation transform. One of the big challenges, of course, is getting a seat at the table. But if you go to them with these kind of pieces of information to say, this is how we can help transform the organisation and use the domain skills that we have in building out IT service management into the wider enterprise, that's going to be good for the company and good for them.
If we want to have that seat at the table and be taken seriously, then I've often taken research from IDG and CIO online, etc. Are you finding then the importance of the vendors needing to use this information in a more thoughtful and powerful way.
Yeah, I think part of our responsibility, if you like, to our prospective clients and indeed our customers that have done great jobs within IT but are now wanting to leverage their skills and the platform that we deliver to wider organisations. I think part of our job is to help them communicate that into the wider organisation, so that the wider organisation knows that Cherwell Software, for example, is a codeless platform. We've got big installations in banking, in healthcare, in manufacturing that are really dramatically impacting the efficiency of those organisations, and it actually allows IT to get on with doing some more interesting work rather than
the innovation.
The innovation.
The stuff out in the blue sky.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for this discussion, Andy. It's been really interesting. I look forward to seeing what the other surveys in different areas.
We'll bring that to you.
That'd be great to have another chat when you've got some more of that information available.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent.